I'm Mats, also known as Mad Mats, and I'm from Stockholm, Sweden. I run a bunch of record labels, been DJing since the early 80s, and also a lover of everything that has to do with hip hop and b-boying, among other things. We actually talked about this before about Sweden have a sense. Swedish people has because we have a lot of people that like soul music in Sweden, and because of soul music, they get a sense of what I think is very important: melodies. So I would say when I hear someone that can have a good, because I like melodies, like I like when it comes to dance music, I prefer melodic dance music that has melodies. So if I can, when I hear someone that got a good sense of melodies, or a producer, if he basically can write songs, not just make a 4/4 loop and then put some sounds on it. I think there's a lot of wishy-washy music that I get sent, but then there are these ones that have these, like, they can get the chords right and they fall in the right place, and it's because they have a good sense of melodies. So maybe there. End of the day, it's a matter of taste, and someone that can get that taste to travel over to someone else, or a bunch of people in a room in an area of space, and also combined with someone who has an urge, a driven, that has a drive to purvey his sound, like who doesn't cut corners, like I always say, like, it's the moody people that kind of like, because they've had so many obstacles, because they're so easy to cut corners, and they probably get a little bit angry because people who cut corners make more, and it's these hardcore individuals who are like sort of so into their sound, but this is what makes them great as well, like that they don't diverge, they're into their stuff, and when you can see a DJ who really does from within, and he understands that DJing is about me expressing to you, not the other way around, like pleasing all these people. When it's the other way around, that's when I think you can see greatness within DJing anyway. That could probably happen, yeah. I mean, but then again, I'm always been like, I love Michael Jackson. He's the king of pop. I have no problem playing well-known tracks. My problem is this: it's like when you play in a party and you start playing tracks to nurture a crowd, and you play more normal music, and they get used to it and they want more, and it's a mountain you can't climb. While as if you play on purposely a little bit more tricky, the crowd doesn't expect the expected, and then they become more open-minded. At least that is my experience. So if you can keep it on a healthy, bumpy level, but it's always nice to hear a classic. I don't mind. The only thing is, it's like when you play them after each other, and then what happens is it's impossible to play something people don't recognize. So you need a healthy balance, in my opinion. That's a very good question. I answer myself that one. Obviously there are DJs that are a lot more famous than me, and I've been around a long time, so I have a history. Hopefully, I've noticed that people that book me again, and I think that's a good sign that I've done something right. I think and hope that I have. I always say that my style is no style, because I can play so many different styles of genres, and I'm not meaning that I in one set can play, like, go all between the styles, but I can do a hip hop night, and then the next night I can do a full on techno party, and I can do a jazz dance session the next day, and I can do a reggae party or whatever, and do an R&B party, or do a modern soul night. I can do, because I've done parties with all styles. So, but what I love to do is when I can play everything together. That's when I feel the most free, and also when I think I'm the best, and when all those things come together, obviously with a good sound system, good space, then I'm pretty good, and then hopefully that makes me appealing. Yeah, when I started my first label, it was strictly vinyl, obviously, and back then vinyl sold really well. So and manufacturing vinyl was much cheaper than it is today. Oddly enough, the prices of a 12-inch is more or less the same, even though the prices have gone up. So it's a lot harder to make money on vinyl these days. But obviously times changed and new formats came. There was a CD was there. I mean, you can still buy CDs, but they're obviously not as big as a digital market is. And there was a time period when the digital thing, I didn't see it really happening, but now, weirdly enough, I think it's actually, people are adapting to it in a good way and in a healthy way. You can still listen to really good music digitally, like even Spotify. You know, if you want to go, and we can as a label, we can nurture that with selling downloads or playlists through like streaming services. So I think it's a different way, but as long as you can channelize it properly, and very, very important, have a good brand. You know, like BBE is a good brand for what they do. Hopefully the labels like Local Talk is a good brand for what we do, but you have to be very strong with your brand. And even for me as a DJ, you need to brand yourself very well now. There's so much. I mean, obviously the content out there is, I was talking with Lee from BBE about there's too much music out there. So if you don't have something personal or something that sticks out, it's problematic no matter what format you're doing. I'll be honest with you, like at the moment we're mainly focusing on three labels. It's the Local Talk, which is the house label, the main label that I work with now, and then I do G.A.M.M on the side, which is, I mean, we don't do, the whole idea with our label is we don't promo it or anything. We just let it run, but it does quite well. And then we do Basic Fingers, which is basically the stuff that we can't put out on Local Talk. And so they all kind of tie together nicely, and it's not too much on. I think it's quite good. And we had a period of time with Local Talk where we put out too much music, and now we're scaled down, and so every release gets to breathe a little bit more. But it's working out quite good, actually, I have to say. Yeah, actually, what we started, for a good example is Local Talk. But in the beginning, we were very firm with how could we stand out from all the other house labels, and we were thinking, okay, we're going to use the logo and really press the logo as a brand. And that worked really well for like the first 20, 30, 40 releases. And then we realized, okay, like Strictly Rhythm was back in the day. They had their, every release looked more or less the same. But then we sort of had a turning point a few years ago. We realized, okay, we're going to make more albums, and then we need to be more personal with each, so we can build the artists more. And then we started working with this designer from Bratislava, who I met through a gig, and he's really has a sense of what we're doing, and he can, he has this organic feel, and we've done some really, really good artwork. So now even on the singles we do full artworks, and we've done a lot more albums with really beautiful artwork, I think. Yeah, there is a new generation of diggers, you could say. Like I travel and I meet a lot of young people that they strictly vinyl, and they're very Puritan about it, like really super pure, And in one way I think it's cool, but I as a DJ sometimes I travel with Serato, which is like basically a laptop and a program, but it's vinyl Serato because I like the vinyl feel, because I want to scratch them. And sometimes I meet young guys that's been collecting records for a few years, and they're like, oh, you're on Serato, and they kind of like negative. And I'm like, yeah, but I've been doing what you do for 20 years. And now, and if you would listen to the music and didn't see me, you wouldn't hear no difference. It's just, and that aspect I don't like, because I think, and that's kind of the point of the compilation. It's like, I dig just as much, I'm just as hungry for music as I've ever been, probably more. I'm even more diverse than I was back then, but I dig for music in very different ways. I find online, I exchange with friends, I still buy records and CDs, and and I obviously get new music from artists as I get a lot of demos and stuff. So I get music from so many different ways, and just for example, like going on Bandcamp, dig for different music there is just insanely interesting. That you can find someone and see what he's buying, and then search through an artist or catalog or whatever. There are a million ways you can find music now, and vinyl is not the only way. And I wouldn't judge anyone from playing digital until you actually hear what's coming out of the speakers, you know. So, well, I can begin backwards. I did the way the thing. I didn't know that I liked house music. It actually started with me buying. I mean, I've heard house music way, even when it came earlier. But I remember I bought Blaze's first album on Motown, and to me it was an up-tempo soul album. And then someone asked, "You into house music?" And I'm like, "What? Yeah, is this house?" And then and I realized that I had some house records, but to me they were up-tempo soul music, And then, I was hardcore b-boy at the time, but I used like music. But then I also remember, I think it was 91 or 92, I was in New York, and a guy called Alex who used to do b-boy events in Stockholm. He had lived in New York for a while, and he told me, "Yeah, I'm gonna take you to this place," and it was the Sound Factory bar in New York, and Louis Vega played, and I just and I think there is the key. If you're a b-boy and you go to a commercial house place and you hear, when it's commercial, it's kind of bland. When it's not personal, all you hear is the kick drum. But if you go to really, this is obviously objectively, but a good house party, and you hear a lot of music, melodies again, and you hear it with a good sound system, with a good crowd, no one can not like it. And it's my party that I used to do in Stockholm, which is called Raw Fusion. We was really saying to people, we play the music you didn't know you liked. And we had a lot of b-boys initially that came down that only liked hip-hop. They went home the night listening to house music, Because I think if you play it in the right way, it's black soulful music, And it has the same roots as hip-hop. It comes from disco, And most old school DJs, hip-hop and house, originates from disco, or soulful music. So it's not that far of a bridge. You just have to put it in a good context, And if you can do that, at our party we had the hip hop heads liking house, the house people liked hip hop. It was not a problem.
Steak or sushi?
Steak.
Beer or wine?
Beer.
Prince or Michael Jackson?
Michael.
D'Angelo or Raphael Sadiq?
D'Angelo.
De La Soul or Tribe Called Quest?
Tribe Called Quest, easy.
Pete Rock or DJ Premier?
Whoa, that's a tricky one. I would say Premier, actually.
Marvin Gaye or Teddy Pendergrass?
Marvin.